What's going on? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to talk about the new MMA rules that were established at the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combat Sports Mixed Martial Arts Committee, where they have now established that grounded knees are allowed if there is only one arm on the ground. So one arm on the ground does not count as a grounded opponent, as well as 12-6 elbows are now allowed. So that John Jones loss by DQ is now officially not a loss anymore, but at the time it definitely was. But let's get right into the video of breaking down why these two rule changes are so important. If you guys enjoy the content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers now, so please help support the channel and do your part by hitting that subscribe button. It is easily the biggest way to go and support the channel. But let's jump right into the video of the UFC's most recent rule changes. Okay, so incredibly recently, the Association of Boxing Commissions and Combat Sports Mixed Martial Arts Committee has now determined that there is two new rule changes coming to the sport of mixed martial arts and the UFC. First off, I want to talk about is the 12-6 elbows, and we all know that John Jones' only loss on his record was to a 12-6 elbow. He was beating Matt Hughes up absolutely crazily, and he hit an accidental 12-6 elbow, which made Matt Hughes not be able to continue, making John Jones lose by disqualification. Now, there was another fight, I think it was Dustin Poirier versus Eddie Alvarez, where Eddie Alvarez was pounding Dustin Poirier with the 12-6 elbows, and he ended up landing one which really hampered Dustin Poirier, and it allowed him to stand up and get the knockout very, very soon after. But 12-6 elbows, I really never understood why they were so bad for the UFC, considering that there's a bunch of other things that are way worse. You look at just regular elbows, you get a lot of different things like that. You get a lot of momentum into those, and they can really hurt your opponent. But 12-6 elbows now being allowed is something that is very massive for the UFC organization as a whole. So now you get to see a lot of these different opponents using these 12-6 elbows, and this isn't a massive change because a 12-6 elbow, there's a lot of other ways to go and combat that rule. You can still throw 11-5s. There's still a lot of different ways that you can do to combat the 12-6, but it makes it a lot easier for the opponents now to get that finish with that 12-6 elbow. But the other thing that is, in my opinion, way more important is the one-arm grounded opponent rule. So now the UFC, the commission has now established that having one arm on the ground does not make you a grounded opponent. And there is two fights recently that have made this rule really, really, really bad in my opinion. The first fight I want to talk about is Nasruddin Imavov versus Roman Dolidze. That fight was a fight night, I think, on February 3rd. To where in the first round or in fourth round, or I don't know what round it was exactly, but Nasruddin Imavov was absolutely beating Roman Dolidze to death with kicks, and it was determined that these kicks were illegal because Roman Dolidze had one arm on the ground, or one hand on the ground, and it was literally just his fingertips, and that changed the entire fight because Nasruddin Imavov was going for the finish, and it was very close to show that he was going to get the finish, but Herb Dean had to step in and tell Nasruddin Imavov that those were illegal shots, when in reality now they are not illegal. And the other fight that really exploited this rule was Arnold Allen versus Movsar Evloev. We look at that fight in the third round, and I remember watching this fight and thinking that Arnold Allen is going to be able to change the tides. Arnold Allen is going in with some brutal knees on Movsar Evloev, and all of a sudden, Movsar puts his fingers on the ground, and they have to call it as a grounded opponent because of his fingertips on the ground. And that really changed the fight because that fight was such a close fight going into that third round. And those knees could have 100% changed the outcome of that fight. I think it was a split decision going into that final round, but if Arnold Allen was able to land those knees more flush and keep going with them, he had Movsar in an awful position, and I think that could have finished the fight for Arnold Allen, ended up giving him the win over an amazing opponent in that standpoint. But both of these rules being changed, it's going to help the sport of mixed martial arts just not have some exploitations in them. The 12-6 elbows really is just something that the striker really has to just think about, just not to throw. But people were exploiting the arm on the ground. And another fight that I remember was Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso, and those were confirmed legal, but Valentina, I think, had her arm on the ground, and Alexa Grasso was hitting her with knees. And it was one of those things that fighters aren't even protecting themselves anymore. And their protection for themselves was just getting a hand on the ground. And now fighters cannot do that anymore. They're going to have to learn how to move out of those positions and have to go to other positions to truly show that there is a bunch of different ways to defend against that, rather than just sticking an arm on the ground and thinking you're protected by the rules of MMA. But ultimately, both of these rules are a massive rule changes for the UFC. 100% they're going to help the sport become a better place, and I do believe that both of these rules are going to have a lot of impact on how fighters are thinking inside the octagon, and of how a bunch of these outcomes for fights are going to change, considering that you cannot just put an arm on the ground for to protect yourself, and the 12-6 elbows are now going to become a very, very deadly weapon inside the UFC octagon. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA. Please let me know what you think about these UFC rule changes, because I think that they both are absolutely massive for the UFC community and for the UFC fighters, because a lot of these fighters are now going to have to learn that, like I said, 12-6 elbows are going to be coming in their direction, and they cannot just stick some fingertips on the ground to be protected by the rules. But if you guys enjoyed the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. 98% of my viewers who watch my videos are not subscribed, so please go down there and hit the subscribe button. It means an absolute lot. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so please go down there and hit the subscribe button. It shows a lot of support. And while you're down there, turn on the post notifications so you guys are always notified when I release more UFC content and news. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fight Season MMA, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.